Aquí estamos una vez más para gloria de mi Padre. Qué gusto bendecirte y qué gusto saludarte. Es el programa 405 de La Voz de Gustavo Vargas en el Diálogo Libre 2.0. Mi nombre es Gustavo Vargas y te bendigo en el nombre de Jesús. Y vamos a darle porque mira, hoy tengo una importantísima mujer invitada. Hoy tengo un tema complicadísimo y duro que necesito que te enteres, hermano. Que necesito que te enteres, hermana. Esto va para las mamás, las mama bears que cuidan a sus niños, y esto va para los hombres valientes que defendemos a nuestros niños, ¿ok? Hay un ataque brutal, pero brutal, por parte del actual gobernador y su gavilla para destruir a nuestros hijos y destruir las familias y destruir los derechos que los padres de familia tenemos sobre nuestros hijos. Es el programa 405 y le hemos titulado así: por la defensa de tus hijos. Mira, la administración de Gavin Newsom, otra vez Gavin Newsom, este tipo parece una peste, una plaga, ¿no? La administración de Gavin Newsom no se cansa de querer destruir a las familias y a sus niños y continúa esta batalla espiritual y también legal en California. Hoy vamos a hablar sobre el feroz ataque a los más pequeños y los más vulnerables y te voy a poner una invitada de primerísimo nivel. La conversación que vamos a tener es en inglés, pero no te preocupes, va a haber subtítulos para que entiendas exactamente el mensaje. Me interesa mucho que conozcas esto, me interesa mucho que comentes sobre esto, me interesa mucho que le digas a tu vecino lo que está pasando y que le mandes este video, este programa. Me interesa mucho que hables con tu sacerdote, con tu ministro, con tu pastor y le digas, mire, esto está pasando. Necesitamos tocar estos temas en la misa, en el servicio religioso. Necesitamos hablar de esto. Por favor, ¿ok? Cuento con su colaboración. Entonces, en el nombre de Jesús vamos a darle. Nos está produciendo Adriana Ovalle. Qué mujer más recursiva. Gracias, mija. Oro por ti, por tu familia. Y nos está ayudando Juan Fernando Dubón a la distribución de esto en las redes sociales. Quiero primero presentarle este señor. Este señor es un asambleísta que literalmente se ha declarado enemigo de los niños. Se presenta como buena gente, como buena onda. Ahí lo vemos con otra mujer que es de las nuestras, Blanca Pacheco, que está buscando reelegirse. Y yo le voy a pedir que no vote por ella ni por este señor. Este compa que ve usted en la foto se llama Rick Chávez Burr y es un destacado defensor de los derechos LGBTQ+, y ha participado activamente en el movimiento por los derechos civiles de esta comunidad durante 40 años. Actualmente es miembro de la Asamblea Estatal de California y ha liderado iniciativas para promover la igualdad y la justicia para la comunidad LGBTQ+. ¿Ya? Algo que a mí me parece excesivo porque pues en la Constitución dice que todos somos iguales, independientemente de tu color, tu preferencia sexual o lo que sea, ¿no? Pero con ese discurso se meten y empiezan a destruir a nuestras familias y a destruir a nuestros niños. Este amigo, este Rick Chávez Burr, está escribiendo unas leyes nefastas en contra de los niños y en contra de los derechos de los padres de familia. ¿Qué te quiero decir? Quiero presentártelo para que lo escuches de sus propias palabras y en su propia imagen. El señor Rick Chávez Burr tiene este anuncio en video de propaganda donde nos dice qué es lo que a él le preocupa. Y como le digo, a lo bueno lo disfrazan de malo y a lo malo lo disfrazan de lo bueno. Entonces, si usted ve a este señor, dice, pero quiero que vea su anuncio de campaña, que ya tiene un tiempo en las redes, para que vea usted a qué nos estamos enfrentando en California. Adelante, por favor, Adriana.
Abortion rights under attack, a housing crisis, and climate emergency. We need a leader to fight back. Rick Chavez Zabur, a civil rights attorney, Zabur led Equality California, an LGBTQ civil rights organization, and fought for justice, equality, abortion rights, and affordable housing. And at California Environmental Voters, Zabur protected our environment and took on climate change. Planned Parenthood and Democrats agree. Rick Chavez Zabur, a proven leader for state assembly.
Imagínense nada más. Nos habla de house affordability, ¿no? Vivienda. Ay, sí, todo el mundo tenemos batalla, pero batallamos con la vivienda. Pero después se mete con toda esta basura. Ya vio que lo patrocina, ¿no? Esta famosa organización que se ha dedicado a masacrar millones y millones de bebés particularmente bebés negros y latinos, en los vientres de las mamás, como Planned Parenthood. Y obviamente habla del cuento del cambio climático, y con todo eso se nos meten y destruyen a nuestros hijos. Hoy te voy a presentar las evidencias. Las tiene una mujer de la que te quiero hablar. Ponme la foto, Adriana, de esta mujer que vamos a tener ahorita. Esta señora yo la admiro, no la conozco físicamente, pero es una mujer que admiro y quiero y que oro por ella. Se llama Erin Friday. Ella en su perfil de X dice lo siguiente: soy abogada de California, soy co-líder de Our Duty, madre de una niña que anteriormente tuvo confusión de género, y esta publicación que hace en su cuenta de X me llamó tanto la atención que le mandé un mensaje, le dije, necesito que vengas al programa. Ve lo que dice allí, dice, California assaults on families continues. El ataque en contra de las familias californianas continúa. Y habla de este proyecto de ley 1967 del asambleísta que acabamos de ver, de este Chávez Sber, este abogado. Bueno, este proyecto va a permitir que los niños, tus hijos, tus nietos de cualquier edad, soliciten ante los tribunales la reubicación de una familia si se encuentran en un centro residencial. Para entonces ya el niño ya se fue de tu casa porque tú no lo estás apoyando con su idea errónea de que está atrapado en un cuerpo diferente, ¿no? Entonces, este centro residencial puede ser un internado, puede ser un centro de rehabilitación de drogas, puede ser un centro de salud de rehabilitación mental, programas terapéuticas, etcétera. Bueno, los papás ni siquiera se van a enterar de lo que está sucediendo hasta que sea demasiado tarde. Sigue escribiendo Erin, dice, padres de otros estados estén atentos a un proyecto de ley similar. California sienta un precedente para el resto del país con leyes que causan estragos, destrucción en las familias. Déjeme pedirle a mi productora que me ponga en escena a la abogada de Friday. La conversación va a ser en inglés, pero no te preocupes, tenemos subtítulos, ¿ok? Mrs. Friday, it's such an honor to have you in my show. How are you doing, Mrs. Friday?
I'm great. Thank you so much for inviting me today.
Of course. Thank you for taking the time. Now, what's going on in California? I mean, the reason that I invite you over, I've been following you for years. For years, I interview you several times. That post in your account on X, it was like, oh my God, what's going on? One more time again, this administration are trying to push us aside as parents. Please instruct my audience, instruct the Latino parents about what's going on in California, please.
Every parent should be terrified, actually, and I hate to be so hyperbolic, but it is true, is that the legislature has been working for more than a decade to destroy California families and to substitute the opinions of the government into families. And they are doing this, they've been doing it slowly, methodically over years, with most people not paying any attention to what's going on in Sacramento until these bills actually affect their families specifically. So recently, Assemblyman Rick Chavez Zabur has proposed a bill that would substitute a parent's decision-making as to the appropriate facility for a child to go to when that child is in acute distress. Let me break that down a little specifically. So
Yes,
if a parent places a child into a residential facility for maybe drug abuse problems, for behavioral problems, for mental health problems, even a boarding school, even a Christian boarding school, this bill allows the child to start a process to investigate the parents for abuse. And this is happening behind the scenes, done by the child in, of course, with some assistance of, a free attorney, to start this process, even though the child's in a safe place. The parents have chosen this. Perhaps doctors assisted the parents in picking this place, but the child doesn't like it. I mean, we'll take it out of the trans picture first. Let's say a child is addicted to drugs and the parents put them in a facility that is locked down, that they don't have their phone, that they don't have the ability to leave the facility to go get drugs. Well, that child can start a process to investigate the parents for possible emotional abuse by taking that phone or putting them in a secure facility. And it all happens without the parent knowing, all the way up to the point of a detention hearing. That may be the first time the parents have any idea that this is going on in the background. Maybe they show up to court, maybe they don't, but on that day, the judge, on the basis of the child's statements only, that do not need to be confirmed by a social worker, do not need to be confirmed by anybody else, that child can become controlled by the county. At that moment, the county then must, if the child is in a private facility, must move that child into a nonprofit foster care approved facility. So they can pull the child out of the drug rehab, place the child with another family, place the child in another institution. And why do they do this? Why do they want to infringe on parental rights? There's a couple reasons. One, they want to control our children, and that's not hyperbolic. That's what they are always gunning to do, is to substitute parents' decisions. And two, these children are profit centers. They are worth money.
Yeah.
So these nonprofits get money for controlling these children. Most people, I think, are aware of the whole grift with the Somalis in Minnesota, and all of this money pouring into nonprofits that really aren't efficacious at all. The same thing is happening in California. So there's a two-prong. Now, Zabur, who is the author of this bill, he has a third reason for doing that, and that is to transition as many kids as possible. He is using this bill as a pathway to take children from parents who are raising their children as their sex, in alignment with their sex. If that child is gender dysphoric, he wants to put them in foster care. He wants to do that because when a child is placed into a foster care situation, when the child is in control, even temporarily, by the state, they're in control by the state, these children have a foster care bill of rights. Part of that foster care bill of rights is that they are able to obtain sex rejecting interventions, medical and mental health. So these children whose parents say, no, we're not going to, inject puberty blockers into this child, or cross-sex hormones, or cut off healthy body parts. If that child gets into that foster care system, which again can happen readily with this bill, that child then gets to dictate their own medical treatment. So it's a way to circumvent parents who are trying to raise their child, trying to safeguard their child's natural bodies. So that's the basis for Assemblyman Rick Zabur for pushing this bill. He wants to hide the fact that California deems parents abusive if they raise their child as their sex. So he does it very stealthily through these types of bills. It's a method to steal children from parents who believe in biological reality, who know that their children are perfect as they were born and don't need drugs and surgical interventions to be their authentic selves. They are perfect just the way they are.
Wow. What kind of a picture you just show us? It's incredible. Now, this has been happening for years, Mrs. Friday. And most, I don't know, you tell me, but I believe most of the citizens, the Californian citizens, the people who live here are completely unaware of what's going on. Why do you think is that, Mrs. Friday?
Well, because the press doesn't discuss, the mainstream media does not discuss these issues at all. They bury it. And when they do discuss it, they say it's a good thing. So, I mean, if we look at gender interventions with children, first the press was saying, oh, this isn't happening. No little girls are getting their breasts removed. This isn't happening in our state. And then when they got caught with the lie, they said, oh, it's a good thing. It's good for children to go through these quote unquote sex change operations, which are not sex change operations because no one can change sex. But the mainstream media, you know, the LA Times, the Sacramento Bee, they don't report on these bills. And if they do, they report on them inaccurately. And maybe this is a little bit too deep, but there's a little trick that the Democrats do all the time with these types of bills, is they add a good thing in the bill, something that 99% of Americans would get behind. And then they add this sneaky, horrible, family destroying aspect of the bill. So when they go to Sacramento and when they present the bill, they only talk about the beneficial aspect of the bill. And this is a trick. And then the press can also only talk about the beneficial part, and they bury the lead. And the lead in this bill is that you put your child in a residential facility, a wilderness program, a outward bound, a boarding school, and the government can come in and take your child. That's
easy like that. Wow. Incredible. Okay. Mrs. Friday, I really, really appreciate that you being here so my audience can listen what you have to say. Allow me a brief pause. I need to take a break. But when we come back, cuando regresemos, vamos a seguir con la señora Friday. Y particularmente quiero referirme a un artículo que escribió en su página de Substack. Eso va a ser al regresar de la pausa. Hágame un favor, ponga a esta mujer en oración. Necesitamos ganar esta batalla espiritual. Nos están destruyendo a nuestros hijos. Agarre la onda. Es tiempo de despertar. Okay, so we're going to take a brief break, and we're going to be coming back with Mrs. Friday. Regresamos.
Si te gusta nuestro noticiero y valoras el trabajo que hacemos en Voz News, ahora puedes apoyarnos directamente. En nuestro canal de YouTube encontrarás Super Thanks, una herramienta que permite a la audiencia enviar una contribución para respaldar nuestro periodismo. Al hacerlo, tu comentario aparecerá destacado con una animación especial en la sección de comentarios. Solo tienes que ir a nuestro canal, presionar el botón Thanks debajo del video o escanear el código de QR en pantalla. Elige el monto, escribe tu mensaje y envíalo. Gracias por ser parte de la comunidad de Voz News.
Regresamos, es la voz de Gustavo Vargas en el Diálogo Libre 2.0. Qué bueno que sigues conmigo. Por favor, comenta y participa, copia y pega, manda este mensaje a más gente. Necesitamos alertar a nuestra comunidad, ¿correcto? Ok. Quiero darle las gracias también a mi empresa de losmentoresfinancieros.net. Nos ayudan con el patrocinio de este programa. Cuando necesites ayuda financiera en el sentido de ahorrar, invertir, seguramente no perder, acumular, proteger tus bienes, todo lo que tenga que ver con tu dinero, hacerlo crecer de manera segura y pagar menos impuestos al gobierno para que dejen de estar haciendo estas tonteras que hacen en California, llámame 626-559-7938 y visita mi página que es losmentoresfinancieros.net, 626-559-7938, losmentoresfinancieros.net. Está en inglés y está en español. Ahora, productora, hazme un favor, ponme esta foto que tengo ahí esta foto es buenísima. Si puedes traer de nuevo, if you can bring Mrs. Friday again, productora querida Adriana. Did you see the picture that I just showed you, Mrs. Friday? Can you describe what were happening that day? I mean, you look like very engaged in some conversation, talking about our children and the defense that you do of our parental rights. Can you describe that picture for us, please?
Sure. That was actually the first time I was testifying. So in the legislature, I was nervous as all get out, but I was really angry, and I didn't understand the disdain that the California legislature has towards parents, rational parents, Christian parents, parents who believe in biological reality, and the fact that they don't care about us. I was fighting a bill there that allows children to run away to the state of California so that they can get sex-rejecting interventions, again, hopping into our foster care system, which allows them to dictate their own gender interventions. And that was my first day testifying ever.
Well,
4 years ago.
Yeah, I took that screenshot because I believe describes you exactly who you are. Now I want to talk about what you just wrote in your Substack platform. I'm going to ask my producer to put a little screenshot that I did about it. Okay. Well, esta es la propuesta 1967. ¿De qué se trata todo esto? Okay. Now, let me see. Lo voy a leer un poquitito. Dice, la medida de la Asamblea 1967 es una de esas cuentas, dice, es una de esas propuestas. Para entender qué peligrosa es esta propuesta, necesitamos comenzar con una ley que se aprobó hace 3 años, la AB 665, en donde se escribí extensamente. Bueno, de estas dos propuestas, 1967 y la 665, can you please describe what we saw and what is this about the Assembly Bill 1967? Can you let our audience know, please, Mrs. Friday?
Yeah, so the bill, AB 1967, was the one we were talking about that was authored by Assemblyman Zabur about the residential facilities. But what we really need to understand is this is a whole circle of bills. So 3 years ago, the legislature passed a bill, AB 665, which allows children to leave their family home at the age of 12 and older and go to a residential facility or shelter without any claim of abuse against their parents. And so this is, again, another chink in the chain to allow children to escape their own families, to choose their own families. At the age of 12, the child can leave and not be returned to the parent. 12 is a very important number for your audience to understand. And let me kind of give a little bit of the world of California. So at the age of 12, a child can get mental health counseling unbeknownst to the parent, both at school and elsewhere. The parents will have no idea that this is happening at school, and the child can be pulled out of class and get this counseling. Parents won't know. At the age of 12, children have a right to have their medical records hidden from their parents, and they are hidden from their parents. Even simple things like a parent calling to see the results of a blood test, the parents can't get that information because the child is 12. 665, the child can leave the family home at 12. So 12 is this magic number where suddenly children are mature enough to replace their parents' decisions. This is a very frightening concept, right? That 12-year-old, let's all go back to what 12 is. 12 is 6th grade, 7th grade. But this is the whole movement, is then that children can go against what their parents know and believe is right for them, and use government to get what they want, what they think they want at that moment in time. Because kids don't really understand that if they go into the foster care system, that there's not like this wonderful family waiting to adopt them that is going to give them, the iPhone 10 that they want and the freedoms that they want, going to love them, going to care for them. We already know what happens when a child goes into foster care. The result is not as beneficial as staying with their birth family, that they are placed in institutions where sex traffickers and drug dealers are hanging around ready to pick up these kids. So why is the government moving these kids from stable family homes into the foster care system? We have to ask that question. Why are they using and hurting their kids? These kids, they want to increase the ranks, the number of foster care kids. And at the same time, they want to cut the number of foster care resource families that happen to be Christian families, or, non-affirming families. So you can see the big picture. California has been moving in this direction for a long time with really little fanfare and little outcry by parents. And so we need to get really, really loud. We need to start voting in the right direction. And the right direction means, conservative candidates, because it's not going to end if these people who have been passing these bills continue to keep their seats. Why would they change course?
Yeah, and just to make this very clear, this, what you just mentioned, it's already a law, right? It's been applying in our children as we speak, and people are unaware of this. You need to know this, compadre. Necesitas saber eso que está platicando la señora Friday. Esto es aterrador. Now, I want to ask you one more thing, Mrs. Friday. When I have this type of conversations, having a coffee with friends or in a social gathering, wherever, and I mention this, they say, "Oh, Gustavo, come on, you're taking this out of proportion. This is a very rare situation that doesn't happen." Can you elaborate about this, Mrs. Friday?
Well, first of all, I understand their sentiment, because I too was in disbelief that our state would be doing something like this. It is so horrific. It is so unbelievable that you don't want to believe it. We don't want to believe that little girls are getting their breasts removed at the age of 12. We don't want to believe that little boys are getting their genitals rearranged, as young boys. We don't want to believe it because it's so ugly, and it's so antithesis of what we believe this country is about. But it's true, and it happened to me. I had Child Protective Services come to my home when I refused to call my daughter.
What?
by a boy's name. Yeah. Oh no, they came to my door. And the only reason that I think I did not lose custody of my daughter was because I'm an attorney. And so not as many people are as lucky as me, but I mean, I field these phone calls from parents who are losing custody of their children because they refuse to call their daughter a male name. As simple as that. The schools are calling CPS on parents like that. And it's happening across the country, even in red states, but it's happening in California. And the reason why sometimes this can't be exposed in the press too is because there are gag orders related to Child Protective Services trials. And these documents are sealed. And so if a parent actually goes to the press to say what is happening in their family, that they can be fined or they're guaranteeing losing custody of their kids. So this is a way to keep it all secret, but it is happening. I mean, you can Google this, you can see parents testifying about this. The gentleman who testified with us on AB 1967, he lost his son because of these laws. And this man has foster cared for kids for 14 years. Wow. So he had child welfare social workers in and out of his house for 14 years. They knew this man was not an abuser, but he lost custody of his 16-year-old son, because his son didn't like the residential facility he had chosen for him for his mental health issues. So it's real. I know we don't want to face how ugly this is. And I certainly didn't know anything about this and wouldn't have believed it until it happened to me. So I tell parents, don't be like me, believe it. And you need to protect your children from what could happen in the future. And if you really think that this may not happen to you, the gender fairy can fly through anybody's window.
Yeah. I believe at this moment and point, every single one of my audience knows someone who has this problem. Probably they're having this problem at home, this issue, and that sometimes they try to, not to talk about it, to avoid it. I don't see ministers, pastors, priests talking about this during their sessions. They're trying to look the other way. They don't know how to handle this. How can we handle this, Mrs. Friday, especially from the pastor's perspective or the priest's perspective? They don't know how to handle this.
Well, they better learn. I mean, it's not that difficult. Really, I think the most important thing that anybody needs to remember is, who are we protecting? We're protecting children.
Yeah.
That makes it easy. That makes it you're morally obligated to say something about this. This is the most vulnerable population, is children. So, look, I've been very disappointed with how pastors and priests have stayed silent on this or even adopted it. I mean, really, again, forgetting what was their calling in their first place. Is the calling to be safe? Is their calling to be complicit? No, it's to help humans and help families. So I encourage everyone who is against this to speak up, because this is why it's lasted this long, because people have been silent. We complain over our dinner table. We shake our heads in agreement, but we do nothing. You have to do something. And everyone is armed with that ability. We live in a democracy. Everyone's vote counts. A simple 5-minute phone call. You don't even need to know what to say. You can call the governor's office and say, I'm against this bill. You can go to your legislature's office and say, what is happening.
Yeah.
Because if no one goes to their offices, if no one says this is important to me, just continues.
Yeah. Incredible. And I want to be very clear. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you, ma'am, lady, mother, father. Listen to this. If you are living in California, okay, and you are voting Democrat, all of those guys, all of them, every single one of them are voting for this. Yes, the lady who smiles at you and say, hey, Feliz Navidad, I have you this for the... No. She or he is voting for this. Whatever Mrs. Bird or whoever writes, they will say yes in a block. And because there are a super majority, they get away with it without you knowing, without the TV reporting, without the newspaper talking about it. So please, at least do something. Call them and let them know that you don't agree with that. And if they don't listen to you, stop voting for those evil people. I don't know what you think about this, Mrs. Friday.
Well, 100%. Look, they have been tricking Californians for a long time, pretending that they care about children and the Hispanic community and the minorities. They don't. It is trickery. They are pulling on heartstrings while taking your children. And let me tell you this, the transgender movement, you know who they went after first? They went after the Hispanic community, because they figured right that parents, Hispanic parents, don't like to raise a stink about what is happening at schools, or maybe they feel uncomfortable because Spanish is their first language, and they're looking at teachers as in a different light, like in godlike status, that they would never go against a teacher, an educator. But that's the trick. They dumped 1,000 books at Fresno schools, 1,000 transgender books at Fresno school. That was the beginning, because they figured that the parents are working 2 jobs, maybe English is the second language. They're not going to look at the books that the children are reading in school, and they're not going to. And if they do see them, they're not going to raise their voice on it. And they counted on that, and they were right, because the easiest kids to pick up in the trans movement are the vulnerable kids. Tony Thurman, the superintendent of schools in California, he dropped off all these trans books, and it was in the news, to a school in Martinez where I think 90% of the children were Black and brown.
Yep.
Their math and English scores were, I think, around the range of 20%.
Yeah,
but,
they're very bad.
But that's where he dropped these books off. So he was looking for the vulnerable kids that he could mesmerize to take on a transgender identity.
Yeah, these people
really
is just pure evil. It's evil. Now, I have some hope, and I'm going to ask you about this. La Comisión Federal de Comercio, con Alaska, Iowa, Nebraska, Texas, presentó una demanda contra la Asociación Profesional Mundial para la Salud Transgénero y están ganando, aparentemente, ¿ok? ¿De qué estoy hablando? Ok. The Federal Trade Commission with Alaska, Iowa, Nebraska, and Texas filed a lawsuit against the World Professional Association for Transgender Health. They're saying that the organization has provided a platform for medical providers to make false claims to parents in order to sell pediatric medical transition services. And I believe they are winning. Now, Mrs. Friday, give us some hope, please.
Well, I'll tell you, we should be hopeful, cautiously optimistic, because we have a long way to go. But the FTC chairman is Andrew Ferguson, and he has met with parents. He has met with detransitioners, And he doesn't file lawsuits unless he thinks he's going to win them. And so he has filed this lawsuit against WPATH, and WPATH is the basis of all transgender medicine. And I hate to even use that word medicine, because it's really not medicine. But this is massive, because we know that WPATH, the members of WPATH are also members of the American Academy of Pediatrics. They're all related. It's a very discrete group of people that have been pushing this forward. You know, so there's really, like, I describe it as a crime board. The same people in WPATH are in the Endocrine Society, are in the American Psychological Society, and these, like, I'm going to say 100 people are the ones behind this whole transgender movement. They are a small number, but boy, are they loud and are they powerful. And now it's going to be revealed exactly what they've been doing. All the lies they've been telling. The lies that if you don't transition your child, they'll commit suicide. That is a massive lie, and that is fraud. And that is what the FTC is going after. That it's medically necessary. It's never medically necessary to remove functioning body parts. But that's what the WPATH has said. And so once the WPATH is taken down, which I am positive that they will be, this so-called medicine will fall to the wayside, just like lobotomies did. So we need to be hopeful and cautious, though, because California is not going to stop anytime soon, because, again, these children are a commodity. They're worth billions of dollars. It's a billion-dollar industry. We have to understand the basis is money, money, money. But I was giggling yesterday. I was giddy. And I know some of the people in the FTC. I mean, they have interviewed many, many parents in my group, and they have taken our evidence, because parents like me, we've been stockpiling evidence against these medical institutions, against these doctors for, the better half of a decade.
Wow. I need to take a pause, a little break. When I come back, I want to talk my audience about Gavin Newsom. He is, I don't know if he's the mastermind behind this, but at least I will call him, he is the face of this in the state of California. Así que no se me vaya, señora Fry. Wait for me. I'll be right back. No le cambies, la voz de Gustavo Vargas en el Diálogo Libre 2.0.
Cuidar tu salud no debería ser algo imposible. Con Voz Salud accedes a consultas ilimitadas, virtuales y en persona, análisis de laboratorio con descuento y a más de 400 medicamentos esenciales totalmente gratis, incluyendo los que tu familia realmente necesita. Todo desde solo $1 al día. Atención médica real sin complicaciones. Visita salud.voz.us y empieza a cuidarte hoy mismo.
Regreso, gracias por estar con nosotros. Es la voz de Gustavo Vargas en el Diálogo Libre 2.0. En medio de todo esto, quiero invitarte a que viajes conmigo. Vamos a tomar unos días de descanso. Vamos a estar 16 días en Europa. Me encantaría que vengas conmigo. Nos vamos a ir a Francia, a Suiza, a Italia y a España. Va a estar buenísimo ese viaje. ¿Cuándo salimos? Bueno, viaje con Gustavo del 15 al 31 de octubre. 15 al 31. Llama para que pidas informes, llama para que apartes tu lugar, porque pues no hay muchos espacios. Y quiero verdaderamente que viajes conmigo, que tengamos una experiencia muy padre. Desde allá voy a estar haciendo el programa de La Voz de Gustavo Vargas. Va a ser muy, muy divertido. El viaje, como te digo, incluye Francia, Suiza, Italia, España, desayuno buffet gratis, hotel 4 estrellas, viajamos en un autocar de lujo. Está padrísimo. Quiero que vengas conmigo. Pide más información al 626 626-858-2419, 626-858-2419. Viaja conmigo, la vamos a pasar muy padre del 15 al 31 de octubre de este año. Pero bueno, ponme la foto del gobernador, mi querida amiga. Este hombre, este es pro-trans. El gobernador de California dice que quiere de corazón apoyar la transición de niños. Dice, quiero ver niños trans. Y dice, no hay ningún gobernador que haya impulsado más legislación a favor de las personas trans que yo. Dice este gobernador que quiere que los médicos, los papás y los niños estén de acuerdo en casarse. Impresionante. Ponme el video y después le ponemos a la abogada Friday para hablar del tema. Adelante, por favor, Adriana. Vamos a ver al gobernador de California.
We didn't get into trans sports. That's an issue no one wants to hear about because 80% of the people listening disagree with my position on this. But it comes from my heart, not just my head. It wasn't a political evolution. It was
position being that
I don't think it's. I want to see trans kids. I have a trans godson. There's no governor that's signed more pro-trans legislation than I have, and no one has been a stronger advocate for the LGBTQ community.
Imagine that. I mean, he acknowledged that he's in the wrong side of the issue, and still he believes in his heart about, transitioning kids. What happened to this guy? What is wrong with him? And what is wrong with people electing people like this in authority, Mrs. Friday?
Well, here's the thing. I don't think for a second that Gavin Newsom thinks that it's fair to have males in female sports. He lives in an elite life.
Yep.
His daughters, his wife is never going to have to use a public bathroom where there is a man using it also, or man performing sex acts like happens at Planet Fitness, because that's it's a lowbrow gym that most people can afford. His kids are in private school. They don't have to deal with this. It is those regular people that have to deal with the males invading female spaces that are in danger of these men in dresses and pretending that they are women. He doesn't care about the women in prison, which incidentally happen to be majority Hispanic and Black, that are now sharing cells with male murderers, male rapists. He doesn't care about them. He cares about his elections. He cares about political power. And the reason why he is ignoring the 80-20 issue, and it's, by the way, it's bigger than that, it's more like 90-10, is because that 10% is where the money is. Yeah. Those donors have massive amounts of money. The Human Rights Campaign has, I think, $78 million. Planned Parenthood is behind this. Yep. They transition both adults and children, or should I say they pollute and poison kids. So the money and his political desires are what catapult him forward and make him sign all these bills. He doesn't believe that men can be women. I don't believe that for a second, but he's pandering to the people with deep pockets. Wow.
So it's all about money and power.
Exactly. And, his wife, I don't know if you know this, but his wife, she has a nonprofit, and she created a series of sex ed videos that she sells to schools that is all about.
We pay for them with our own taxes.
We pay for them, but her kids go to private school. Remember that. Her kids go to private school, so she doesn't have to worry about one of her sons saying that he's a girl, or maybe she'll celebrate it. Who knows?
Who knows? Anyways, now we're running out of time, but I wanna expose this lady to our audience. Her name is Dawn Addis. She is pure evil. Dawn Addis. Can you put the picture? Thank you very much. La ve usted, mire, se ve bonita, simpática, amable. Bueno, Esta señora es muy mala gente. Y quiero que escuche lo que le dice en una sesión en Sacramento nuestra querida amiga, la abogada Erin Friday, donde cuestiona esta propuesta de esta señora Addis, que busca, escuche usted, busca que las aseguradoras sean sancionadas económicamente cuando un niño que quiere castrarse le sea negada la operación. Lo que va a escuchar a continuación parece sacado de una película de terror, pero es real. What you guys are about to see is real. Mrs. Friday talking to this evil lady called Dawn Addis, who happens to be an assemblywoman. Let's watch it, Mrs. Friday, and then I want to have your take. Adelante, por favor, mi querida Adriana. Ponelo.
It is forcing insurance carriers to cover all gender interventions, irrespective of age, because of the fear of being criminally liable. This bill can assert a $10,000 per incident against an insurance carrier per. It also has a felony component to it. It has a year jail time if an insurance carrier discriminates against someone who says that they are transgender. So an 11-year-old who comes in and says, I want my penis removed, and the insurance carrier says no, they can be taken up criminally under this bill, be fined $10,000, and face a felony if it's looked at as they are being discriminatory against this patient.
Thank you. I will let the author respond to that.
Oh, well, thank you, Madam Chair. Really, this is a very, very simple bill that codifies discrimination protections that are already in federal law in Section 1157 of the Affordable Care Act. So it just takes those anti-discrimination provisions and puts those into state law. Very simple bill.
Okay. So it wouldn't require something that's not already required.
The bill does not expand coverage at all. It simply takes the existing non-discrimination provisions from federal law and puts them into state law, but there's no requirement of expansion of coverage.
Okay, thank you. And with that, would you like to close?
Well, I just want to say thank you so much to our witnesses and the sponsors and the supporters who came out. I know that every time we do these bills, you have to sit and listen to a lot of hate, and I think it's a prime example of why we do need this bill, is what our witnesses experience every single time we do a bill in this space. So thank you to you for your decorum and your bravery, and thank you to the committee. I trust the committee knows facts from fiction, so I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Incredible. I mean, they believe their own lies. You are a hateful person, Mrs. Friday.
I know, so hateful for trying to keep children's bodies intact at their fertility and prevent them from having lifelong medical issues. Because once you put cross-sex hormones and puberty blockers into a child's body or an adult's body, it's a forever problem. You know, the sad part is that sitting to the right of me was a detransitioner, Luke Healy, who lived as a trans-identified woman for 7 years. And, you know, he was completely ignored, which is the normal thing that happens in Sacramento. It's like he doesn't even exist, which is, you know, coming from their words. And we are called all sorts of names. I mean, this is par for the course. The author was lying about what the bill does, but those people on the dais, those Democrats, first of all, they don't read the bill. They don't spend any time looking at the legality of these bills, and they just take the author's word for what the bill says. It already, by the way, this stuff has already happened in California. Blue Cross Blue Shield was fined almost $1 million for refusing to do some transgender interventions. And so now insurance carriers are, I mean, if you were looking at one of these and you could face a year of jail time, would you ever say no to removing a child's breasts? Because you could go to jail for a year for being discriminatory against a child who thinks that she's actually a boy. So they lie. It's a constant thing in the legislature. And for those people who don't understand, we get 2 minutes of testimony.
Just 2 freaking minutes. Incredible.
2 minutes. And we don't get to have a back and forth. I don't have the opportunity to hold the assembly member to her lie and to, disembowel it and let the dais actually know what the bill does. I am completely at the mercy. I am cut off at 2 minutes, and perhaps somebody asks a question, but most likely they don't. They just move the bill, call us some names, and move on.
Easy peasy like that. And they are destroying our kids. They are destroying our children. They are destroying our parental rights. We need to fight back. And you are, my dear friend, you are an epitome of that. We need to pray for you. We want to be praying for you. We need to put people like you in front of those evil dudes and fight them. Fight them till the end. And I praise you. I really value your time. Thank you for being part of this program. Now, let us know, how can we support you? Where can we find you? How can we follow you so you can show us what's really going on in California and nationwide, because this is a national problem. Please.
So people can follow me on X. It's Aaron Friday 75290. You can also send me an email at aaron@ourduty.group. And you can ask to be placed on my alert emails, where I tell people about the bad bills and give very easy instructions on how you can have your voice heard. Very simple. I make it, 5 minutes of your time to do this. You can also go to our website at ourdutyusa.org. And if you're a family with a child, adult or child or minor, who is struggling with gender identity issues, reach out to us. We can give you resources. We can help you navigate this really difficult time in your life, because, you've got to actually, parents have to take steps to safeguard their children against this. So I thank you so much for having me on your program today. And I really implore everyone to get involved in this. We outnumber them. We're just not as loud as they are. And the more we stay silent, the more this continues.
Yeah, that's a fact. If you don't mind, I would love to pray for you, okay?
Please.
So I'm going to ask the Holy Spirit, please, Lord, take care of this lady, guide her, give him strength, give him the words. And she already has the decision to do this. So just guard her, protect her, and guide her through all this process. And I pray this in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I need to shake hands with you one of these days. Hopefully. Thank you very much this Friday. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
God bless. Take care. Wow. Bueno, amigos, ¿qué más les puedo yo decir? ¿Qué más les puedo mostrar para que crean esto que está sucediendo en California? Todas estas cosas que vimos ya son leyes en California. ¿Me entiendes? Ya son leyes. Ay, Gustavo, ¿cómo exageras? No, a mí no me va a pasar. Hermano, tenemos que pensar en lo que le está pasando a los demás. ¿De qué nos sirve decir que somos hijos de Dios, que somos muy católicos, que somos muy cristianos, que somos muy evangélicos, si no hacemos nada? Estamos siendo testigos de esta barbarie, estamos siendo testigos de esta destrucción de nuestros niños, estamos siendo testigos de la destrucción de nuestras familias y no decimos nada porque a mí no me está pasando. Quizá ahorita no te está pasando, hermano, pero la idea es que te pase. Estos tipos, eso es lo que quieren. Y esta super mayoría de izquierda, todos votan por Estas leyes absurdas de Chávez Burr y compañía, de Scott Wiener y compañía, todos votan en favor, aunque no estén de acuerdo. Sí, la misma senadora tuya, la misma asambleísta tuya que la ves ahí en la Navidad y que trae regalitos y que el Día de Acción de Gracias regala pavos. Esa gente está votando por esta basura. Tenemos que hacer algo, hermanos, tenemos que hacer algo. Por lo pronto, de aquí desde mi trinchera y gracias a la gente de Voz Media que me deja hacer estos programas, si no, no estaría aquí. O sea, la libertad ante todo y sobre todo la verdad por encima de todo lo demás, aunque no nos guste. Quiero invitarte a que me veas en la tele. Voy a tener a Sonia Shaw y esa es otra cosa bien importante. Esta mujer es como Erin Friday. Es una mama bear que se está postulando para la superintendente de instrucción pública en California. Si ponemos a esta mujer a cargo de la educación pública en California, toda esta mentira que le están enseñando a nuestros niños en el no, desde bebés, desde que los llevas al daycare, ahí empieza el rollo, hermano querido. Así que no dejes de vernos este lunes, 9 de la noche, en la cadena Alma Visión. Ay, se me acaba el tiempo. Adrianita, siempre te digo que hoy sí me voy a quedar con el tiempo y siempre me paso. Perdóname, pero teníamos que hablar de esto. Comparta, comente, esté al pendiente de todo esto, ¿ok? Bueno, nos encontramos en el próximo. Dios le bendiga abundantemente y no se canse de hacer lo correcto. Al final del día, Dios nos va a premiar y a ese es al que servimos, no a ningún gobierno corrupto. Tenemos que poner gente de luz en posiciones de poder en todos los órdenes de la vida. Cuídese mucho. Hasta mañana.